Hey, welcome back to the Voyage Cast. I'm your host, Eddie, and today we're going to tackle an idea that will hopefully make you think a little differently about love, or maybe think of love in a whole new way. But as we go through this, I want you to consider the following question and kind of just hold it in your mind as we're going through this. Are you really remembering your relationships accurately? Or are you just holding on to the emotional high and the painful goodbye? So here's the thought. When we're talking about memory, we like to believe that it's fair and reliable, that our brains are like perfectly organized kind of scrapbooks, capturing all the good, the bad, and the in-between moments equally. But the truth is that's not really how memory works. Psychologists have uncovered something fascinating called the peak end rule, a concept studied in depth by Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman. Here's the idea in simple terms. Out of the moments that make up every event or experience, we tend to remember the most vivid ones. And we tend to remember two particular parts: the peak, or the most emotionally intense moments, that could be good or bad, and then the end of something, or how those events wrapped up. And that's it. Our memories don't really care much about the steady in-between moments or long stretches of calm, or even the full duration of a relationship. We tend to zero in on the highs, the lows, and the final note. And that shapes the story we carry forward. So if you've ever found yourself replaying one passionate night, or one crushing argument, or one disconnected goodbye over and over, while forgetting years worth of kindness, compromise, or even simple joys, that's the peak end rule. And today we're going to explore why it happens, how it distorts the way we see love, and most importantly, what we can do about it. This episode is brought to you by Voyage Counseling, the mothership of the Voyage Cast. Life has its ups and downs, and sometimes we all need a little help navigating the tricky parts. And that's where Voyage Counseling comes in. Our team of licensed therapists are here to provide support and guidance, helping you to gain clarity and confidence as you move forward. Whether you're working through challenges, improving your relationships, or focusing on your personal growth, Voyage Counseling offers care that's tailored to you. We're committed to making sure every step you take feels meaningful and manageable. And if you're ready to take that step, visit voyagecounseling.com to learn more or book your first session. You don't have to go it alone. And, by the way, we do take most major insurances. Part 1, the strange nature of memory. Back in the 1990s, Daniel Kahneman and his research team conducted a groundbreaking study on how people remember pain. They looked at patients undergoing uncomfortable medical procedures and asked them to rate their pain in real time. Then they followed up by asking those same patients to evaluate the memory of their experiences later on. Here's what they found. It wasn't the total amount of pain that shaped how people remembered the experiences. It was actually determined almost entirely by those two moments: the worst moment, or the peak high of the pain, and then the final moments when the thing was done. Here's a wild example. One patient went through a short, excruciating procedure that ended at the height of pain. Another endured a similar procedure, but it lasted much longer, even 3 times as long, but ended with a period of low discomfort. Which experience do you think was remembered worse? Well, the shorter one, of course. Why? Because our brains don't measure length, they measure impact. The intense peak and unresolved ending overshadowed everything else. Now, if this is true for medical procedures, imagine how it plays out in the story of love. Think about a marriage that lasted 10, even 20 years. Maybe most of those years were marked by stability, shared meals, raising kids together, and quiet, ordinary love. But one explosive fight, one moment of betrayal, or a distant breakup can suddenly recast the whole relationship in the harshest light. I'm sure many of you can actually relate to this. You might even say things like, oh, that relationship was never really good, or it never was meant to last. They didn't actually love me. Or on the flip side, we do this with the highs. A few perfect weeks at the start, the rush of infatuation, and we cling to that memory at the expense of truth. We even romanticize the relationship long after it's turned toxic because we're chasing the memory of that peak moment. Memory, my friends, is a tricky thing. And love makes it even trickier. Part 2. How your memory distorts love. So here's something even more mind-blowing. Memory isn't just selective, it's incredibly malleable. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus conducted a study where participants watched the same video of a car crash. When the word smashed, quote unquote, was used in follow-up questions, participants remembered the cars as traveling faster and even described broken glass that wasn't even there. Simply put, a single word actually reshaped their entire memory of the event. Now, think about how this applies to relationships. When we replay a relationship in our heads, we don't just relive moments, we filter them through emotion. Anger, regret, heartbreak, nostalgia, these emotions distort the lens, sometimes completely reshaping how we remember an entire event or series of events. Take that one bad breakup. If someone says it was never good, you have to ask yourself, is that the truth? Or is it a trauma holding the microphone, rewriting every moment that came before as insignificant? Here's the real danger with distorting memory. When we misremember love, we don't just hold on to the wrong version of the past, we also make it harder to heal and move into a healthier future. Maybe you've blamed yourself entirely for a failed relationship. Maybe you've written someone off as a villain without considering the possibility of nuance in what they're doing, experiencing, or saying. Or maybe you've stayed stuck in a cycle of longing for the past because you've romanticized the good and ignored the bad. Well, when we get that story wrong, we actually cannot move forward. We just replay the loop. And I'm telling you, I have a lot of clients who struggle with this, who just get stuck in these loops because they romanticize the past, they forget about the nuance, or they can't see a good future because they're haunted by the past and can't see the good. So this leads into part 3, how we heal memory and love. The good news, we're not powerless to our memory biases. We actually can reshape the peaks and the endings over time, of course. Here are 4 ways to start. The first one is be intentional about creating positive peaks. Love is made in small moments. A compliment, a shared laugh, a simple acknowledgement of, I see you. Although that would be weird, right, to just sit around and say, I see you. So I think hopefully you understand what I mean when I say, I see you. These moments may feel small now, but they're the ones people carry forward. Don't underestimate their power. Number 2. Don't leave conflict unresolved. It's not the fight that ends a relationship. It's often the silence that follows. Say, I'm hurt, but I'm still here. Say, we'll get through this, and I'll come talk to you about it in 30 minutes, an hour, a day. Something like this. I talk to this one with my clients all the time. You have to come back. So you can end the argument with repair, not in stone cold silence. Number 3, rewrite harmful peaks. If you know you have hurt someone in a moment they still carry, name it, acknowledge it, and take ownership of it. Memory holds on to pain until it gets a clear message that healing is possible. Give yourself and others permission to rewrite that moment. Because if you don't, you end up blocking any potential growth or potential healing single-handedly. Number 4, end well, no matter the ending. Maybe it's the end of a relationship or just the end of a hard day. Either way, remember this, endings do actually matter. And I'm not talking about the creepy ones that you get at those weird massage parlors.
You're so gross!
Say what needs to be said. Create warmth, kindness, or closure. Now this, by the way, any of these things take a lot of practice to learn because we often go into these situations with kind of preconceived notions about who people are and kind of pre-wired methods in our brain of how we ought to act. So it does take time and just be patient with each other on these things. Okay, so here's some closing thoughts for you. We don't remember life the way it happens. We often remember the way it felt, and often that's shaped by emotional highs and the way it all ended. But this is where the power lies. If we can reshape those moments, even just a little, we can rewrite the story we carry forward. Not by erasing the pain, because that's not really something you can do, but by adding threads of truth, repair, and captured beauty. Today, I want to leave you with two questions. How might your memories of love need to be rewritten? And for those of you in distress relationally, this probably applies. Now, don't get me wrong with these questions or these thoughts. This is not for those of you that are in abusive relationships. You should probably leave. And I know I'm broad stroking here, but I don't know your situation or your case. I just need to make that disclaimer. The second part here is, what can you do today to make somebody's memory better? Now, this requires an intentional act of kindness, of thoughtfulness, of seeing the person, noticing something good or positive about them. I know this is kind of a short episode, and I know I can't really attack every situation, every single thought or thing, but hopefully this gives you a good stepping off point when reconsidering the stories and the narratives that you're writing and encoding in your memory banks, and how those aren't always very accurate. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of the Voyage Cast. And if you did like this episode, it did resonate with you, like I always say, share it with somebody you like, somebody you hate, family, friends, everybody in between, because they probably need to know these things too. For additional details, or if you want to read the full article on this episode on our blog site, check the show notes for those links. And if you're feeling extra generous, you can also check the show notes for links on how to support us through Patreon, and that'll help us continue to make this content free for those of you that don't support us on Patreon.
Until next time, then, goodbye.